Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Unex News Radio podcast, your news source for all things unexplained. And now, here's your host for the Unex News podcast, Margie K.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Margie K, and this is Unex News. We're here every Friday night. Thank you for joining me this evening, and I hope that you are having a good holiday season wherever you may be. We have some new things that are coming up here on the network, so I want to just go over a couple of things. Of course, we have our contest going on right now, so there's still time to enter the Best Decorated House contest. And you'll want to go to unexnetwork.com to get the details on that. Get your entry in if you decorated your house inside or outside. We're going to have some nice swag items to send to you if you are the winner. And the other new thing, which is a brand new announcement tonight, and it is on the website, we're going to be doing workshops. I am going to start off with 2 workshops. The first one is a remote viewing workshop, and this is the book that goes with it that you will need to have if you want to learn to remote view, whether you are experienced or not. This is a 4-week course. We're going to be doing 3 hours a day on Saturdays starting in January. And then the second workshop is a master dowsing workshop for 1 day in March. March 4th is the date for that. So check those out on our website. And also be sure to like and subscribe to the Unex Network channel right here on YouTube so that you will not miss a show. My guest this evening is William Lawrence. And I met William after I saw some of his work and some of the photos that he was putting out there, because they were very similar to some that I was able to get myself. Not only were they similar to a case I was working on that where the witness actually took photos of her house outside, and then when she looked at it, there were creatures in the windows, and they were unexplained. They were not human, and there was no explanation for how they got there. And not long after that incident, I had my own when I was able to capture photos of some strange creatures in a windshield of a car, and the windshield is curved and there was sunlight out, and just what I was getting was very similar to what William Lawrence has been able to capture. He is a scientist investigating new methods of communication with life after life. He's developing a new device to demodulate the electromagnetic spectrum of sunlight. And William discovered that ghosts were able to show themselves in the light. Later, he went on to discover that it wasn't just spirits appearing, but what appears to be extraterrestrials. He's been experimenting with this device for 7 years, and he's collected overwhelming evidence of unexplained anomalies with photographic evidence of non-physical spirits, physical humans, and what looks like an advanced reptile species, all of them appearing in detail in the electromagnetic spectrum of sunlight. Welcome to the program, William.
Thanks for having me on. I'm happy to be here and answer any questions.
Thank you so much for joining me. I've got to ask you, how did you discover this method?
It was actually by accident in California. I was actually high. There was sunlight coming in through my window, and I used a water bottle, and I made a rainbow on a black refrigerator and took a photograph of the rainbow with a digital camera. When I looked inside the rainbow, I seen things that shouldn't be there. And that was in 2010 in Palmdale, California.
Okay.
Fast forward, I recreated the experiment in 2015, just remembering what I seen then in 2010.
I've got some photos here. Are any of them of that first event that you had? Do you think?
There are no photos. I have video documentation of the 2010 rainbow experiment, but as far as anything released, there's nothing released. Everything that has been released is from the 2015 experiments, where I developed a device to analyze photons, which is sunlight, and the visible light spectrum. And visible light is information, so light is information. So what I've been able to do is process this information, and in doing so, I found that um, spirits and other species can communicate with this frequency.
Yes, let's get into that in just a minute. But let's show this picture first because I think it's one of the most compelling and easy to see that there is a creature in this photo.
This
Where did you take
this
this?
this was when I first started the experiment, and what you're looking at is about 2 or 3 inches of metal. I use metal for the sunlight, but I use water to process the light, and then I project that light onto the metal. And when the light is on the metal, I then take a digital photograph of the metal. So you're looking at a 3 inch surface. And as you can see, that was the very first thing that caught my eye when I recreated the experiment. If it wasn't for this photograph, I might not even have continued. But what you can see is a some type of male or masculine spirit. You see his eyes, nose, mouth, shoulders, head. So they're trying to
Yeah,
communicate.
that's pretty clear. And then on the left side of this, I see some possibly some other things.
Yeah, I mean, I try to go for the detail, but this was the very first experiment, but I continued that experiment. So all of my photos that I release, like in this experiment on the left side, you have different photographs that were taken at different times. Some were in late December. Once I started in April of 2015, I continued the experiment until December of 2019.
And this one, it looks like there are three beings there. The one on the left is pretty clear, the head. It's a very thin neck and big eyes.
Yeah, this
That
was the same experiment, but this was, I believe, 3 or 4 months after. I'm not exactly sure on the date. But as you can see, the water that I use to process the sunlight, and then you see the metal, and the sunlight passes through the water and onto the metal. And here there were three entities. On the left, you had what looked like an advanced reptile. In the middle, you had what looks like a tall man or woman wearing a robe, and then on the right, you had a bald man wearing a suit. The bald man with a suit was in, for the first 2 years, he was in a lot of photographs. He kept coming back.
really. Do you think he had an interest in you, or was there for a reason?
Well, with the technology, they were alerted as soon as I was able to see their frequency. With quantum entanglement, any time that you can get access to information, it will send the person who has that information. So they were alerted as soon as I detected them. Once I detected them, he may have known that I was able to see in, and they were trying to communicate other things. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
issue is, this is a very major discovery. I've been trying to get an investigation of this discovery since 2015, and I have not had a single investigation since then.
Really?
I've been the only person investigating not only this discovery, but the other discoveries that were made prior or after I made the initial discovery in 2015. I've been communicating the results of the experiment, but there has not been a single investigation of this discovery by anyone.
Okay. So science is not interested. And what about the UFO community? Has anybody expressed any interest there?
The connection I found with this is that the paranormal is connected to the extraterrestrial, but I've contacted everyone. I went to an alien con in 2019 and handed information out to multiple major people in the UFO community. I've been communicating to MUFON everyone for an investigation, and there has not been one investigation of my work.
Well, I find that very strange, but a lot of times when people come up with something new, mainstream science is slow to respond to that.
Well, the technology involved, actually, the quantum entanglement, it wasn't published in Science anywhere until 2021. Terry Rudolph in London, and then a Harvard physicist in 2021 also published papers that supported the work that I was already doing. The issue is that the technology involved is mainly kept top secret.
Okay, you may have hit upon something there. Yeah, there could be those that don't want this information out there. What is the connection between telepathy, consciousness, and quantum communication?
What I realized through my experiments is that our brains have neurons. These neurons can produce biophotons, which is visible light. A photon is a particle of light, but it's on a very small scale. So our brain produces light, and if information is able to transfer via light, via quantum entanglement, people could have the ability to communicate with other realms, or psychics. It explains how psychics are able to communicate with life after life, because somehow there must be that entanglement forming inside their brain with these neurons. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel that for us to discover, consciousness or the soul or the spirit, we need to understand more of how to communicate with spirits, paranormal, extraterrestrial. It's all connected, and with the angels in heaven. And in doing so, once we develop the technology to communicate to the non-physical realm, they then will be able to unlock, where we travel after we leave Earth, our consciousness, telepathy. I mean, through science, through quantum entanglement, that alone proves that people can be telepathic.
Do you think that there's any connection with manipulating the mind? Would anyone have any nefarious reasons to do something like that using this information?
As far as that technology being available, I'm not exactly sure that it's available, nor do I have evidence of it. However, there are other methods of manipulating people's minds, and one of the greatest mind controls of all time is information. When you put information out, you control people's way of reacting to that information. So as far as being able to go in and literally remote control somebody with this technology, it could be possible in the future. But as for now, I don't believe that that's at play.
Okay. What is METI? METI.
METI is messaging extraterrestrial intelligence. Now, I reached out to Seth Shostak, SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence in Mountain View, California. I reached out to him in 2015. I continued in 2016 and got into contact with them. But when I reached out to them and told them that I made contact, they formed METI to send a message back to extraterrestrials using lasers and information encoded in light. Now, SETI Institute 2 has not investigated my discovery. Seth Shostak actually dismissed it via email.
Really?
Yes, he said it was no different than looking in the bumper of a car, the photographs. But I mean, I tried to describe to him the frequency that I found the messages in is in a different frequency. They search in the radio frequency. I discovered these messages
Right.
in the visible light realm.
Right. Right. And that makes sense to me because I had an incident several years ago where I saw a beam of light going directly to an antenna. It was in the clouds, and I couldn't see the source, but I received a telepathic message that there was communication between ETs and the people in that building via light. And that was in, oh gosh, probably 2006 when that occurred. And that really opened my mind to the possibility of information moving through light in a better way than radio waves.
Well, and this information is different because traditionally, well, with our technology, modern technology, all the information is put into binary ones and zeros and sent. Now, what I'm seeing and viewing is not binary. It's not data. It's actual. It's like looking into a window or seeing what's on another side. I'm not exactly sure how to describe it, but it's not the information transfer because it's instant. So you're just looking in and they're looking in at the same time, if you understand what I mean.
When you are doing an experiment and you're looking at these beings, do they move like a video, or is it just like a still picture?
I ran the experiment with videos and still, but majority of they're too quick. So as soon as they appear, it's only for a split second and then it disappears. So I haven't been able to hold the frequency long enough, but when I do tune it in, I'm able to get them. I have got video, and I've also mainly had still frame photographs of them.
Does this work better for you if you meditate or use telepathy prior to your experiments?
As far as what I know, I went at this from a scientific angle, and it's just an experiment for me. It's just science. It's just going out and running an experiment, taking photographs and seeing what I get.
Mm-hmm.
And what I got was truly unbelievable. And yet I still can't figure out how to get it investigated by anyone. It's very strange.
Well, I know some people, so we'll talk after the show because I know some people who would be very interested. That the co-authors of my book, The Fast Movers, we talk about the quantum UFO observation technique, where we use telepathic communication to request extraterrestrials to come in close, and they do. And then we get pictures of their craft. And in some cases, the actual beings themselves will come in. And so I think that this is related to that. I just really feel like it's related to that, and that there should be some experimenting done with it along those lines. So you think that these are extraterrestrial messages from an unknown language on radio and UFO sightings?
Well, I know that I made contact, and as soon as I did, I started getting visited by UFOs. And before, when I developed the experiment, I only developed it to communicate with ghosts. I did not know it was connected to UFOs and extraterrestrials until I continued the experiment. But I was visited for 2 years by UFOs after the initial contact, per se, and since then I've held the contact. I'm still in contact with them. I don't run the experiment no more. What I'm trying to do now is just get people to understand the frequency, and the frequency is a visible light spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And that frequency is protected. So I mean, we're not even allowed to use that frequency. All previous searches were using radio waves, searching for extraterrestrial messages. They didn't hear a message because the message wasn't in the radio spectrum. It was in the visible light spectrum.
And so do you show other people how they can replicate this?
Yeah, on my website, I went public in 2015 with this information, and I've continued to document my journey through it. So everything that I discover, I put online, and the instructions are there. I've had other people around the world do the experiment to get similar results. One got one of the gold reflective eyes. That was the Advanced Reptile. That was out in near Saudi Arabia. That was a physicist there, a young physicist. Texas, Manchester, England, there was another experiment. A friend of mine, Alex, in New York, he ran the experiment, and he was able to document a woman holding a bouquet of flowers.
Really? Okay. So other people are having success with this.
Yeah, the moonlight experiment is a little easier to do than the sunlight experiment. The sunlight experiment consists of metal. In photography, the moonlight experiment, you could just hold a bottle of water with about an inch of water, put your camera lens right on the bottle and aim it towards the moon, and then just try to focus in on the light. And you'll see, I have video of that experiment where I was able to capture a woman, a green reptile, and what looked like a deer or a horse. And you could see them actually forming and vibrating really, really fast. And that's the moonlight experiment. But it's the same thing. You're using sunlight, but the sunlight is bouncing off the moon, which is metal, and then going into the camera lens.
Do you think that you're looking into another dimension, or are you looking at a message that's being sent?
At this time, I'm not sure where they are. They could be anywhere in the universe. They could be in another galaxy. They could be in our galaxy. With this communication frequency, you could communicate galaxy to galaxy. So they just prove that our galaxy is made up of over 2-3 trillion stars. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the possibilities of how many humans are out there just like us are in the trillions. I mean, we're looking at over 2 trillion galaxies. We are in the Milky Way galaxy. We are living. We exist. That proves that galaxies create and spawn life. Meaning, if there's 2 trillion galaxies, there's 2 trillion people out there just like us that want to talk to us.
Or other forms of intelligent life. Yes. Um,
I mean, every animal, every species on Earth could have fully evolved to be super advanced, like super intelligent. We too are advancing, but I don't believe that we have reached the super intelligent stage yet.
that could have, or could explain why people see insectoid beings, and the mantis, for instance, and they seem to be, they're standing upright, they're walking, they're very, very large, intelligent beings, but they're an insectoid, and it's something that we recognize. We recognize praying mantis as an insect here, but perhaps somewhere else they've developed into super intelligent beings.
Well, like I was just saying, I mean, every species could have fully advanced, and like you're saying, insects, reptiles, even tarantulas. There could be a planet somewhere where spiders fully evolved, and
Supposedly there is. Oh,
the universe is so large. I mean, literally
yeah.
anything is possible.
We
Anything.
really do have to keep our minds open to various possibilities.
And then, with not only with the discovery and the quantum work that I'm involved with, my website, which is filled with quantum publications, but also, that recent photograph, the June 27th incident. I tried to get that investigated. I sent it to MUFON. I was in contact with Earl Grey in California. I said, hey, what is this? But no one would investigate it. It's so strange.
Okay. Well, we are up on a break, and when we come back, we'll talk more with William Lawrence, and we've got some more really nice photographs to show you. So don't go away.
We still live?
We're still alive. We're
My
not
head
supposed
bobbing.
to be, but we'll be back. Oh,
Just give someone a look. I don't know if they got that on camera.
yeah, we're live. We're live.
Oh, we are live. Oh,
Yep.
cool.
Okay, folks. We'll be back in just a minute. Are you thinking about purchasing a wood-fired heating or cooking appliance but don't know where to start? The new book, Wood-Fired Heating and Cooking, will guide you through the process and make the decision much easier. Find out about wood stoves, wood-burning fireplace inserts, masonry heaters, cook stoves, brick ovens, and more. Learn about operation and maintenance, buying and storing wood, even how to make your own charcoal. A bonus section includes delicious recipes for cooking in a wood-burning oven, grill, tandoori oven, or smoker. The wise homeowner, prepper, or homesteader will have the ability to heat their home with wood when the power goes out or to save money on increasing gas bills. Wood-fired heating and cooking is available at Amazon. Visit www.woodfiredpub.com for more information. That's woodfiredpub.com. All right, we are back. I am Margie Kay, and this is UNX News, and we're back here on this Friday evening where nothing seems to be working right. So, hopefully, we'll be able to get through the rest of the show. William, you mentioned that you saw and you were able to capture something really strange in June. I'm going to show that here now, and I'll let you talk about this and find out what in the heck is this.
This was a photograph I took June 27th at 6:35 p.m. Eastern Time on the East Coast of the United States of America. And as you can see, there was a rainbow. All I seen was the rainbow. It was above my truck. I was packing up my equipment and tools, and I seen the rainbow. I'm like, the rainbow's very pretty. So I took two photographs seconds apart. And I didn't even look at it until I got home about an hour later. And when I looked at the first photo, there was nothing. It was just the clouds and the rainbow. And then in the second photo, what appears to be 12 golden rings or a portal with, it looks like a positive and a negative in the center, two circles overlapping each other like a Viking knot. And then you have the 12 rings that circle around it. However, there is some type of box or square on the right side that blocks out 6 of the 12 rings, because I counted the rings on the left side, but on the right side where the box is, it blocks out the 6th ring. This is an unexplained phenomena. It's new. There's nothing to compare it to, so I've been trying to get it investigated because I think it's very important for us to understand what it is. But also in the first photograph, with the rainbow in it, you can see what looks like UFOs in the clouds. There's 1, 2, 3. They're in triangle formation. 4, 5, 6, I believe 7, 8. In the original, I counted over 17 spheres. They're circular, they're silver, metallic looking, and they reflect light. But there is a lot of UFOs. You got a rainbow and what appears to be a portal.
Where was that taken?
That was taken at Northwest Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay. Okay.
That was on June 27th, and since then, my life has been a little hectic, but we're getting there.
All right. And what is this one?
This is one of my favorites because it was one of the the messages I got. This was a December or August of it was later on in the discovery, but as you can see, what appears to be a being riding on a beam of light. He has his legs, his arms, his head, and like you can see the rainbows going back and forth. Um, you also have what appears to be Galileo's spyglass. Now that looks like a telescope. This was a message. The way I interpreted it is they were saying you can see us and we can see you. So they were using the telescope to kind of portray the message like, hey, we can manipulate this light and talk to you. Um, so that alone was really concrete evidence that the experiment was working, and I continued the experiment years after that photograph.
And I can see on the left side what looks like 3 or 4 beings, possibly 4 there, or maybe
It,
even 5.
and if you notice, we're looking at the same piece of metal again, and the water is in a plastic bottled water, and the light is passing through the water. And onto the metal surface, and then on the metal surface, when I take the digital photographs, that's where these objects and unexplained anomalies are appearing, but it's a very small space. They're very, very small images.
So does the metal need to be curved?
That's what works for me, and this has been done in the past before digital cameras. The camera was invented in 1975, but John Dee and Edward Kelly did this for the Queen. They had a similar technique where they were using bowls and light techniques, and they were communicating with what could have been ghosts at that time.
In 1975?
That's when the
Or
digital camera was
what's
invented.
a, oh, I see. I see.
John Dee and Edward Kelly, they were working for the Queen back in the 14 or 1500s, like hundreds of years ago, but they had a
Uh-huh.
similar technique using metal. Notre Dame also used black metal for a lot of his predictions in water and light. The metal surface I use is curved. It helps to focus the frequency, which I believe is also curved or stretched. Um, but as far as the evidence that I've collected between the years of experiments and the photographic evidence of what could be messages of other intelligent creatures in our universe, and then the June 27th event where I photographed this portal opening up in the sky, you know, I'm having all of these things happen to me, and I'm reaching out and telling people about it online and asking for an investigation. Yet there has not been a single investigation or anyone explain to me, what is really happening here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very confusing time for me. I don't know how to describe it because this information is not easy to have being alone. I guess I don't have the proper support system to discuss this information with. Maybe I don't know.
What do you say to people who say that what you're seeing is pareidolia?
I tell them to prove it. They can't. You cannot disprove what I've discovered. But also, ghost hunters and people who search for paranormal things, they are able to document spirits on camera. That is proof that life exists after we leave Earth. There's there's a whole science to this that is undiscovered because people have not been able to really make discoveries in it, because anyone who talks about it usually is told that they're crazy, and it's not that way. What we're looking at and doing is different, but it's still not accepted is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I can see where it wouldn't be accepted by mainstream science. They would want to stay away from it. But there are some people who are more open minded, especially in the paranormal community. Uh,
But paranormal,
But
what I'm getting at is anyone who is ghost hunting is using equipment. They're running experiments. I mean, they're
hmm
scientists. I mean,
yeah,
they're investigating something, energy. We're learning more and more about this every day. And you said it before the break. We have to keep our minds open to this type of information. And I mean, I have pushed this discovery as far as I can push this discovery. I need it to be investigated. There's many cases, UFO cases that are investigated. There's many different other things that are investigated. I've been putting this information out there, and I still have not had an investigation. And with this portal that I just witnessed, I don't know how the United States government is not curious to know why 12 golden rings are an hour outside of Washington, D.C.
well, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they know about that 100% and are keeping quiet about it.
Well, that's the thing.
So,
How am I supposed to know whether it's extraterrestrial or if it's, government technology? How am I supposed to know whether or not it could harm me or not harm me? Like,
yeah,
what did I witness? What did I see? Can anyone explain it? No.
not so far, but maybe sometime. What about this photo?
That is one of the gold reflective eyes. That's the advanced reptile. As you can see, his skin is brown in color, and brown is not even in the light spectrum. Um, the gold reflective eye beings, I believe to be advanced reptile. There was an earlier photograph with the human looking ghost that looks like Casper, of the same species, but he's looking more front. This one is looking to the right. Our right, but his left. The other one, you can see both of the eyes. The eyes are very distinct. They have gold reflective eyes, and they do look similar to turtles or advanced form of reptile. Now I have found in some of the photographs that the bald man is with the advanced reptiles at the same time. They all communicate with each other. So I mean, I found three different forms of life. I found physical humans like us. I found ghosts, non-physical, and then I found an advanced form of reptile. Like I said, there are other different forms of life that can be there, but the main ones that I'm in communication with are human and reptile.
In this picture, in the upper right hand corner, looks like a cat, a black cat. Do you see that?
Yeah, the there's been a lot of different animals. I've had giraffes, dogs, cats, tigers. A lot of animals have shown through. Even a stuffed animal I had when I was a kid. There was a gremlin that I had as a stuffed animal back years ago. They put that in one of the photographs. Now,
Hmm.
with the moonlight experiment, I was able to get audio. So now, if you have your camera and you're running a moonlight experiment and you're filming a video of that, you want to do video of the moonlight experiment. I recorded, and it's on YouTube. Two lions. It sounded like lions that were just growling. Like, I'm not exactly sure, but that was in the same video that I did get the woman, the reptile, and the horse or deer. It's all available on my website, bentlights.com. If you go through the publications, there's not that many publications to go through. You can literally go to the first one, and it tells you how to do what I've done and what I'm capable of doing.
Okay. Okay. So, bentlights.com would be the place to start and read through some of the articles I have, and I find it extremely interesting. I especially the photographs taken on a reflective surface. Uh, I'm just wondering. I mean, just based on what I've seen myself, I want to do more experimenting with that, and that was just taken with a digital camera, looking at the windows and taking a picture with sunlight out. And I have not tried it with, looking through water with the camera, using the camera through water. So I will definitely try that and see what
Water
happens as well.
Water has also been scientifically proven to store memory. So in one droplet of water, you could store 1,000 full-length movies. And
Really?
back to the window thing, whenever I was searching through Google or Zillow, I'll see the photographs of houses. And then on Google, you can go to Street View and see the windows of houses.
Hmm.
And I think it was on Zillow. I was on Zillow once, and I'm just looking through, and all of a sudden I seen it look like a man standing in the window. So, I mean, even a lot of the photos that are online, you can see things that shouldn't be there. And sometimes they're not supposed to be there, but sometimes if they're detailed enough, it needs to be investigated properly, is what I'm getting at. Because a lot of times people can say, well, that's nothing, but then sometimes it could be something. And that something is what a lot of people are having difficulty not only communicating with, but understanding. And that's life after life. Now, with this technology, I see, futuristically speaking, us having the ability to video chat like we're chatting now with ourselves after we leave Earth, which will be very, very interesting.
That would be very interesting. And
Because our consciousness, our soul, our spirit leaves our body, we know God exists. There's no right or wrong way to to worship properly. But what I'm trying to get at is, we know that our consciousness, our soul, is transferred after Earth to somewhere. Um, well, once we can communicate with that somewhere, are we going to be able to talk to everyone that lived on Earth? There's so many different possibilities. Like, we are literally going to be able to communicate with pretty much anyone maybe who has ever passed away or lived on this planet.
some people have predicted that. Some people who said they've seen the future, they have seen some type of machinery that is able to do that. And I cannot remember who it was. Maybe it was Nostradamus, uh, but or somebody else that just came up recently about that. I I'm looking right now. I'm trying to find at least one of these pictures because it's kind of crazy. Um, do you think that uh, asking people to go ahead and try this experiment on their own would be a good idea? And then also, should should we ask people to go through all of their old photographs, of their houses or their cars or things like that, and really, really take a good close look at them?
Well, it's just like I said, I have a way of seeing things that aren't supposed to be there. So I do pick up on things rather fastly. But when it comes to my work was based from an experiment. I had controlled experiment, controlled variables, everything stayed the same throughout all the years of experimenting. And I was still able to continue to produce really detailed photographs. But when it comes to other things, what we're going to be able to have a better explanation of it in the future. Because like I said, there are people who say ghosts don't exist. I mean, I don't know how anyone can say that in 2022, but there are people who literally
True.
say that ghosts are not real. Well, I would
That's
like to
true.
say to everyone who says that a ghost is not real, that ghosts are very real, because I'm in communication with some that are telling me they're extremely real.
Now, how do they communicate with you?
What's that?
The ghosts or the ETs, how are they in communication with you now? Is it only through you looking at the light, or are they telepathically communicating or showing up on the lawn, or
No,
whatever?
I haven't had very many run-ins with this experiment. I haven't been able to run the experiment, but what I've been able to do is gain knowledge through this experience, and what I've understood through my writing and my publications is a way of, communicating. And yeah, they're here with the portal event. There was another event that I kept seeing unidentified objects here too. So I mean, there's a lot of personal experiences I don't discuss unless I have physical evidence of it. So as far as any communication that I'm doing privately, I don't discuss it.
Okay. And you're, well,
That's,
the the
like I said,
UFOs
I
that
mean,
you see,
anyone,
are they are
I'm claiming to be in contact with another civilization that is highly intelligent. So what I'm getting at is I haven't had anyone investigate it. I witnessed a portal. You know, like there's things that I can explain and there's things that I can't explain. So what I try not to do is say things that I can't explain unless I have ways of proving it. Does that make sense? Because it's not easy knowing what I know. It's very difficult. It's it's
I
scary.
imagine so. And unless I found in my experience in investigating paranormal and UFOs that unless a person has had an experience themselves, they can't understand it. And they have a really, really difficult time understanding it. So, yeah, I totally get it. I really do. Um, so, just for the audience who wants to try this, they all they need is some container of water and a digital camera.
Yeah, I mean, the instructions are on my website, but all
Okay.
you would the moonlight experiment is a lot easier. So that would help you pick up on the frequency of sunlight because what when light reflects off the moon, it's the same light coming from our star. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
information that seeing is in sunlight. Um, the sunlight experiment is definitely doable. You just need a bottle of water with about 1 inch of water. You hold it about 4 or 5 inches from a piece of black metal, and then you take photographs of the light on the metal. Now, this is a new type of device too, because if you think about how the light is being processed and scattered through the water, that light is being projected onto a piece of metal, and then you're taking a photograph of that light. That's similar to a microscopic setup, but it's more on a macroscopic scale, if that makes sense. So it's like the opposite of a telescope. Instead of looking out, we're just looking in within. So we're not searching for distant light. We're taking the light from our star and processing that light, and that is where we're able to see and communicate with other civilizations, possibly ourselves after Earth.
Wow. This is one of the most unusual interviews that I've done. And certainly, this is new information to a lot of people. I mean, I've known about it for several years, but I just thought it was important to have you on to discuss it, maybe get some more people involved, and visit your website, read your papers,
Well, see,
and,
that's the
try to
thing.
experiment themselves.
It is definitely paranormal, but it's also extraterrestrial. But there's always been a divide, I feel, between extraterrestrial and paranormal. But what I'm seeing is it's all connected, and I'm trying to get an investigation. I can't do this solely on my own, if that makes sense. Like anyone who has experiences that are like the June 27th portal experience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I need other people, investigators, people who investigate this subject matter to take this seriously and be like, I need help understanding this information. I am a private citizen. I'm a commercial painter and residential home painter. But I've been running these quantum experiments now for since 2015. So not only am I, keeping my job, but I was running a science experiment, which ended up being one of the biggest discoveries known to mankind. Yet there has not been one investigation of my experience, of my experiments, or anything that has occurred. The UFO, anything.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't understand it. And it's very difficult because it's not just me. This is affecting my personal life now because there's people around me that don't understand it either. And that's what I would like for anyone listening to the show to know. Like, that's my favorite photograph, but me putting this information out has been very dangerous. And not only for myself, but now, you know, it just doesn't make sense that not one single person in America has investigated my experiences since 2015. And I want to go on record and say that, because I have contacted every single person. And I have people right now in other countries that are publishing my publications and their books and profiting off of what I put out. And yet
Really?
I am being persecuted over this information.
And it sounds like copyright infringement.
I'm not even worried about that
Wow.
right now. What I'm worried about is why nobody in America has investigated this discovery. That's what I can't figure that out yet. Why there hasn't been one investigation by MUFON or anyone. It's mind-boggling that I can put out all this information, and yet not a single person has contacted me and asked me a single question.
Well, I find that pretty shocking, because there are a lot of people in ufology and in the paranormal fields who are very open-minded and are always looking for different ways of contact and communication. So
I just
I find
had
that
doctors.
shocking.
I just had doctors literally tell me that I was delusional for even talking about this subject matter.
Oh, well, got to stay away from those doctors.
Well,
There
that's
are
what I'm
some who
saying.
understand and some who don't.
Anyone listening to this, if you follow my research or work, just know that I need help investigating this as soon as possible, because with the 12 golden rings plus everything else that's involved with the communication, you know, SETI Institute, let's just put this out there. SETI Institute, $26 million. Where does that money go? What is that money for? What do? They just listen to nothing. It's just all this money is being wasted when we as paranormal investigators or private investigators at that are out running experiments and seeing energy and seeing things that are unexplained, yet people are still saying that we're crazy for doing that. In 2022, why? I can't explain it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have run out of time for this evening. William, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and explaining this.
Yeah, I'm
And
sorry. I just get so passionate, and like I said, things have been a little wild lately, and I'm just sorry to get a little amped up at the end.
well, that's quite understandable. It's quite all right. So, bentlights.com is where you need to go if you want to get more information and try your own experiments. And if you have any luck, let me know and let William know. So, thank you so much, William. And
Thank you for having me
hopefully, and
on.
we'll be in touch. We'll be in touch. I'm
Well,
going to talk
just
to some people and get
yeah,
back
just
with you.
have them look at the research and then have them email me if you can.
I sure will. I sure
Thank you
will.
so much.
Thank you. All right. That was William Lawrence with his bent light experiments and quantum communication with extraterrestrial intelligence, and also people who have passed over. So we're looking at, interdimensional communication, probably. Who knows at this, but it does need to be looked into, and I'm going to try some experiments myself as soon as the weather warms up a little bit, because we are in a freeze right now here in Kansas City, and I'm looking forward to springtime. So, goodness gracious. Another evening has gone by, another Friday. Stay tuned, because I have the next 3 months completely booked with guests, and we've got some good ones coming up you're going to want to see. Also, be sure to enter the holiday decor contest. The winner is going to get some Unix swag, some real nice stuff, new things that we haven't even talked about, like posters and cool things like that, going to be coming up. This is Margie Kay with ONX News, and I'll see you here again next week.